Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Welcome back to another edition of Game Over Calgary. My name is Matt DeMille, and I'm one of three co-hosts for the Game Over Calgary channel. Just wanted to thank everybody today for joining us following the Calgary Flames and Columbus Blue Jackets game tonight. Obviously, a little bit more of a somber note tonight, considering that the Flames and Blue Jackets both came together for the second night in I believe it was 5 days to celebrate the lives of both Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau after their passing in August. First things first, before we kind of jump into the game, obviously, as I said, the Flames invited the entire Gaudreau clan and their extended family to the Saddledome tonight in what was a very heartbreaking but emotional and, in a way, beautiful tribute for the family and the lives of the two players, Johnny and Maddie. I feel like I can say there probably wasn't a single dry eye in the city of Calgary tonight after both just across the entire game, but specifically kind of the opening ceremonies, if you call them, in tonight's game, from wearing the Gaudreau jerseys during warm-ups, both Columbus and Calgary, to the video tributes sang by George Canyon and the Johnny Be Good song that Flames fans have kind of known to love over the last decade. And of course, the ceremonial puck drop with the Gaudreau family, as well as both Michael Backlund, Sean Monahan, and the rest of the Blue Jackets and Flames organization kind of taking the ceremonial puck drop together, which, if it was one of the most powerful things that I've ever witnessed. I wasn't at the game tonight, obviously, but even watching from home, it definitely tugged on the heartstrings. And just shout outs to the entire Calgary Flames and Columbus Blue Jackets organization in what was just such a beautiful celebration and tributes to both Johnny and Maddie. Obviously, that was a big storyline in tonight. And there's sometimes in hockey, sometimes hockey is more than a game, and it seemed, well, clearly tonight was one of those moments where, while two teams came, hit the ice vying for 2 points, there was definitely an underlying message to tonight's game, and I'm sure it was an incredibly difficult game for a lot of these guys to kind of play in, but that's what makes moments like these special as well. So just wanted to obviously shout out the Flames and Blue Jackets organization for what they did, not only tonight, but in last week's game in Columbus. Just two beautiful tributes to the most deserving pair of brothers that I think anybody can think of. So as I said, definitely not a dry eye in Calgary tonight. And while tonight was again, night of celebration, a night of honor, a night of tributes, the healing process for not only the hockey community, the Sea of Red, the Blue Jackets fan base, but most importantly, the Gaudreau family. So obviously, considering the circumstances, it's tough to see all those familiar faces, but at the same time, it was amazing getting to see Meredith, Noah, John Jr., Guy, Jane, and of course Maddie's wife Madeline, and the rest of the extended family in Calgary. Seeing Guy and Jane here was just a sight for sore eyes as well. And even again, another shout out to the Flames for having Guy out for practice with the team yesterday too. Just another great tribute for Papa Hockey. And it just showed tonight kind of what not only Johnny, but what the entire Gaudreau family means to the entire Sea of Red. And I think that's something that the family will never forget. And it's something the Sea of Red will always be there for as well. So before we kind of jump into the rest of tonight's game and breaking down the game specifically, I did want to share that or shout out again our flagship show, as I always do before before every kind of game. Shout out our flagship show on the Game Over Network, on the Game Over Network channel, Hyperdrive Hockey. All things hockey across various leagues in multiple countries. Whatever it is and wherever it is, Max, Daphne, and Kev have you covered for all of your hockey news with a steady dose of fun and fan engagement. You can find Hyperdrive Hockey on the Game Over Network YouTube channel, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts on the Hyperdrive Hockey page at thegameovernetwork.com. I'm seeing Conrad and Matthew Crisanti both in the chat saying Guy is always a flame too, and forever a flame, I would say, for the entire Gaudreau family, let alone Johnny. That family will kind of forever be tied to the Flames organization, and that's something that, as a Flames fan, and I'm sure I can speak on behalf of everybody, is such a special part in the identity of this team, and of course with that family too. First things first, I guess, big takeaway for period one of tonight's game. I thought it was only fitting for the Flames to kind of have a performance like this on the night that you celebrate, again, the lives of both Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, in the sense that I personally think that this was probably one of the most, the best performances in terms of being a collective identity for the Flames, and even as the Blue Jackets as well. These are the games where I think the importance of having a cohesive and tight team like the Flames have, like the Blue Jackets have, I think these are the games that, you really have to play as a team. And I think the Flames' collective identity, I don't think there was a single person on this team that stood out in a negative way. And I feel like everybody did their jobs, did what they were supposed to do, and played as one cohesive and collective group. And it really showed the bond that the Flames have in that locker room. Obviously, it was a tough, difficult game for everybody who played with Johnny over the past decade, but specifically on the Flames team, at least guys like Michael Backlund, Rasmus Andersson, Blake Coleman, guys that, spent countless years with Johnny, and just to see the team kind of support and I guess the best way is support those three guys by playing as such a collective and such a essentially hive mind. I thought it was very powerful stuff from the Flames, and I think it showed. Like, I feel like there weren't really too many mistakes that were made. Was it maybe a safe kind of game? Absolutely. But everybody kind of stuck to their job, stuck to their roles tonight. And it showed in blanking the Blue Jackets, getting the shutout against them. Dan Vladar was great when he needed to be, but in reality, I don't think that it was necessarily a game that Vladar won for the Flames. He made some key saves, but I think the Flames did an excellent job kind of keeping the Blue Jackets contained. As I said, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but playing as a collective, as a kind of a little community, and it was just really strong stuff to see. I also have to shout out, as I said, Michael Backlund, Rasmus Andersson, Blake Coleman. Hockey has a very mysterious way to it sometimes, and obviously for Andersson to score the opening goal tonight, with Backlund to assist, and of course Coleman to be that guy out front with the screen, it's just fitting for a moment like that to happen in a night like this. And again, like, if the waterworks had been turned off after the post-game or the pre-game ceremony, I feel like it only kind of just started up again when you saw Andersson kind of salute to the Gaudreau family, and kind of the hug that Backlund gave Andersson to. You kind of knew what a moment like that meant for those guys. And obviously Andersson said in the second intermission to Ryan Leslie that was obviously one of the most emotional goals he's ever scored in his life. And obviously there's a reason for it. Obviously, as Conrad in the chat says, sucks for Columbus that Elvis is hurt. I mean, he made a pretty nice save against, I believe it was Huberdeau. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, tough to see him go down, because I thought he had a pretty good game today as well too. And with him being their starter, that's kind of a big loss to happen, and especially in a night like this. And how dare the Jackets challenge the Backs goal, though. I kind of agree. Obviously each team wants to pick up the 2 points, but again, the kind of narrative in the storyline to see Backlund get one tonight would have been pretty nice to see, albeit he did grab 2 assists in typical Backlund fashion. So he still had kind of a night to remember performance-wise as well. And Coleman did look like he had a bit of a jump. Yeah, like I said, I want to shout out those 3 guys specifically. I talk about them being a collective. And I will say, I also feel like this is one of the better games I've seen from the combination of Huberdeau and Gaudreau, but specifically Huberdeau. For some reason, it felt like he had a little bit more confidence to his game. He was shooting the puck when he needed to, rang the iron on an absolute laser beam, and sometimes, like, I forget that this guy can shoot. Like, when he shoots the puck, he has a shot. It's just we never see him shoot the puck these days. So I think it was a very strong performance from Huberdeau tonight. I personally feel like we saw confidence in him that we haven't seen very much since he's kind of joined the Flames as is. And so tonight, whether it's considering the moments and the importance of a game like this, he really kind of stepped up for the occasion. He wasn't rewarded in the goal column, but I thought he had a very strong performance offensively. He had a jump tonight. And again, I feel like he's kind of been he's been a big, maybe not public enemy number 1, but he hasn't been necessarily beloved by the fan base lately, or since his joining of the team. But I think you got to give him some flowers for tonight's performance. I thought he was pretty strong of him as well. And then again, Gaudreau also had some jump to him. I know Kelly Hrudey thought he was pretty good on the broadcast tonight, and I agree with him as well. So it felt like, I mean, obviously a night like this, I keep coming back to the importance of this game and the stature of this game, but it was definitely one the Flames clearly wanted to take away, both with the Gaudreau family in the house. While it doesn't fix everything by any stretch of the imagination, it's obviously good to pull out a win for them while they're here as well. So it definitely showed that this was kind of a night that the Flames really needed to take home the 2 points, and they got the job done. And they did it together, and I think that's some really powerful stuff from the team. Now, before we jump into the next segment of today's show, I just wanted to share that the Game Over Network is an independent production focused on community, inclusion, and quality people. If you're interested in supporting the Game Over Network, we have crowdfunding options available. In the description of this episode, you'll find a link to our Patreon page, and we're also working on a page through LaRouche, which is a crowdfunding platform for companies originating in Quebec. For LaRouche, we're aiming to raise $15K, and if we hit that goal, we'll gain access to government grants that will allow us to employ more people. And obviously, getting the opportunity to employ more people means we can spread the Game Over community and the Game Over market a lot wider, with opportunities to create more and more entertaining, more awesome, bigger, better content. So, and who doesn't love that? So if you have any ideas for what you'd like to see in terms of giveaways for these crowdfunding efforts, let us know in the comments on Twitter, Instagram, and our Discord server. I know Conrad is in the chat as well tonight. So I will also say Blue Sky. Conrad, I'm sorry, I still haven't set up my account, but we are also on Blue Sky. And if you want to connect with us through there, absolutely shoot us a follow, I think is what you do on Blue Sky. Again, that one's on me, but the Game Over Network is there, and I will be there shortly, I promise. Conrad, it could be a turning point for the season. I absolutely agree. I think that's a statement game for the team, and obviously I'm interested to see in what ways they'll kind of not bounce back, but kind of keep the momentum rolling. And granted, they also are 6-0-0 at home in their last 6 games as well. So a very good home team continues to be very good. Second part of today's show, I kind of wanted to shout out, not shout out, that is for the next segment, but I wanted to shed a little bit of light on Jacob Pelche tonight. Obviously, he got the call up yesterday, this morning. The days are just blending in for me. But both him and Walker Duehr got the call from the Wranglers up to the Flames. Obviously, with the mix of Andrei Kuzmenko being a healthy scratch tonight, Kirkland on the IR, and Adam Klapka going back down, we needed a couple bodies, and we brought those two up. I was interested to see how the two of them would fare, but specifically Jacob Pelche in tonight's game, and I can't say I was thrilled by what I saw. It just, like, they were there, but I really just didn't see what I wanted to see out of them. Again, specifically Pelche, I will kind of give him a bit of credit in the sense that he was on the fourth pairing with, I believe it was Kevin Rooney and Ryan Lomberg, and he only saw 8 minutes and 24 seconds of ice time tonight. So obviously, like, I want to see more of these guys. I want to see what they can do, but I will say specifically Pelche, I don't necessarily know if the Flames really put him in much of a position to do much tonight, in the sense that he was on that kind of grinder line. At 5'9", 170 pounds, I don't think Pelche hasn't necessarily been a guy that is known to be a grinder on the ice. And obviously, putting him in a different kind of role would put him in a better position to succeed. Again, we've already kind of given him his opportunities and stuff, and he hasn't done much, but I was interested to see what he was going to do tonight. Again, as I said, ended with 8 minutes and 24 seconds of ice time. Not much ice time to be had in general, and when he was on the ice, I can't say he really took me by surprise. I can't say I was necessarily impressed. Whereas, like, Walker Duehr at the same time played on a line with Blake Coleman and Connor Zary, and I feel like Duehr has that kind of energy, and he's got that grit that he can maybe find more success on a grinder line. So I don't know. Obviously, I'm not in the Flames war room and their strategy for lines, but I feel like I would have maybe liked to see the Coleman Zary Pelche line. Again, I know they play different wings, that kind of stuff as well. I'm not a genius when it comes to who is better on the left and right, but just in terms of a line, obviously Pelche has a little bit of chemistry with Zary, having played down in the minors with him for a couple of seasons now as well. And Duehr, I feel like, just really fits a description of more of a grinder, nitty-gritty guy that could mesh well with Rooney and Lomberg. So, I mean, I hope to see them maybe out for a couple more games. I don't know what their timeline is with the Flames, or whether, we're going to see extended looks from either one of them. But just thinking with, like, just in general with Pelche, he kind of just gives me flashes of a guy that the Flames community knows very well in the name Matt Phillips. They both kind of have the same kind of stature. Pelche's 5'9", as I said, 5'9", 170 pounds, and Matt Phillips is 5'8", 160. So a foot shorter, 10 pounds lighter, but they're both kind of the guys that, I don't want to, like, say it as it is, but it kind of seems like Pelche has that Matt Phillips syndrome, in the sense that he's a great guy in the AHL. As of right now, he's tied for second in points on the Wranglers with, I believe I have it written down here if I can find it. It was 19 points in 20 games, and he's actually tied with Walker Duehr in that. And they're second behind Rory Cairns, who I believe is at 21 points through 22 points through 21 games. And both Pelche and Duehr are sitting tied for 13th in AHL scoring. As I said, like, I don't know if I want to label him as the Matt Phillips syndrome just yet, considering Phillips was in the Flame system for a little bit longer than Pelche has, but it can't be much longer now. But it seems like Pelche is kind of the guy that finds success at that AHL level, but the minute he kind of comes up into the big leagues, he just can't find his footing as well as he did in the AHL, whether it's his size, whether it's his strength, and it just gives me flashes of Matt Phillips. And I know a lot of the Calgary, the Sea of Red, was very high on a guy like Phillips, but then, like, let's be honest, like, the Flames gave him his chances, and he just couldn't really put something together. And even as he's moved on, like, yes, he played for Washington, yes, he scored against the Flames in his very first, in his debut, yada, yada, yada. But since then, like, he's still been bouncing between AHL organizations. He hasn't found his big break yet. And I don't want to say it yet, because obviously I don't want to throw a first-round pick out the window, albeit a late first-round pick. But he has been very I just haven't been thrilled by it, and it's giving me flashes of a guy named Matt Phillips. I hope that's not the case. I hope he can figure out something soon. But again, I see Conrad both in the chat as well. Flip, Pelts, and Doer. I don't disagree. If we kind of have reached a point where it's like, yeah, it's either he doesn't fit with the system, he doesn't fit. Just he's kind of not made it out to be fit in the identity of the Flames. I don't want to see what happened with Phillips in the sense that he walks. I would say flip him. I 100% agree. Matt, how many times in the last 2 weeks have I been critical of coaching decisions? Oh, man, that is such a great question. I don't know what I ate for breakfast today. So if you want to jump into the chat, because I don't want to go one direction and I ended up being completely wrong. But there's been some moves. Again, I'll go back to tonight's lines where I'm just kind of on the fence with a few of their decisions. Even like the mixing up of lines when the Flames were hot. Like what are we doing in that sense? So I mean, I'll let you speak up in how critical you've been, because as I said, my brain doesn't work these days. I don't know what I ate for breakfast today, and I don't want to make myself look like an idiot in front of all our amazing followers. So if you want to help me out here, I'm all for it. But kind of going back to the whole Pelche thing, I haven't been thrilled. I didn't really like what I saw at the start of the season. I will say, though, now that he's up here, I'm in the... I fear what happened to Cole Schwint might happen to Pelche, and I would be a little bit hesitant on potentially losing him for nothing. So if there is a world where they don't really kind of mesh, I am not opposed to moving either of them. I like Doer in the sense that, as I said, I feel like he's a good grinder guy. I don't think he's going to be a guy that puts up 25, 30 goals a season. But it's tough to kind of match the energy that a Ryan Lomberg has. And as I said, he's an absolute spark plug. But I do see shades of him in Doer's game as well. Mix up the PP and it work, so it's not terrible. Fair enough. Matt Crisanti. Zari and Sharks still not together. I know. Yeah. Okay. I have the memories are now flowing back to me. Yeah. Questionable lines. Zari and Sharks still not together. I did like that pairing. I'd like to see more of that pairing. Obviously, I think like a guy like Zari and his creativity would mesh really well with a Sharon Govich, in the sense that Zari can do the heavy lifting, give it to the guy with the shot, bing, bang, boom. There's like 50 tickles in a season. So I know when I was gallivanting with the WHL, I'm sorry. I should have done a better job at tuning into our streams, and that's on me as well. So just add that to the list of things I mess up, along with not having a Blue Sky account. So again, I will take fault on that one as well. But I'm back. I'm back and I'm better than ever. So I'm ready to go. Coleman and Bax is one of the few constants we can bank on. I don't know why you'd split them up. Coleman in particular struggled since they work really well together. I think they're our defensive kind of duo, in the sense I like both of them in the sense that they're pretty good lockdown guys, PK guys, and I mean they've just shown the last couple of years they have chemistry together. So sticking, I agree, keeping them together. But obviously there's a lot of combinations that you can put together with the Flames that don't include mixing up those guys as well. Thoughts on Parekh and Uyghur not representing Canada? I mean, Fraser, if you're thinking about Parekh making the Four Nations tournament, I think that makes sense. Jokes aside, I don't know. That one's a bit of a surprise, in the sense that, I mean, obviously he's having a good season. He's shown he can put pucks in the net. But I think if we're talking World Juniors specifically, I'm of the opinion that you don't take every single guy that can put a puck in the net and throw him into a lineup. I think you need to have a good mix of players that bring like different strengths to the table, right? Like if you have too many cooks in the same kitchen, in the sense that a bunch of guys that'll score 50, 60 goals in junior hockey, but you don't have anybody that knows how to play defense, I think that's a big warning sign for a few potential, like, not really having the best team put forward. So I think there's like a lot of questions on, why didn't so-and-so make it? Why didn't so-and-so make it? And obviously I'm not with Hockey Canada. I don't know exactly their decisions, but I think they had a specific target of the players they're looking for, certain number of goal scorers, certain numbers of offensive defensemen. And once that total was filled, if there's guys that are left over that could make the team just based off skill, there is going to have to be some cuts made in order to bring a more defensively sound guy that's going to block shots. And so few non-OHL invites. I know there's a lot of like the Michael Misas, the Beckett Senecas, the Zane Pareks, and then even like in the Western Hockey League, like there's where was the Carter Yakimchuk? That was the big one. Again, I think it just comes down to what Hockey Canada was looking for in their roster. Like, I think a guy that not many people had on their radar, and again, me coming from the Western League, I really like this pick, but some people didn't have a guy like Tanner Howe in the roster. I really love that pick for Hockey Canada. Of course, Tanner Howe's now with the Calgary Hitmen, just completed a trade with the Regina Pats, but he's kind of the guy that you're gonna want when it comes to these tight games against the Americans, against the Swedes, against the Finns. That he's not gonna be the guy that's gonna go end to end, put a puck in the net, but he's gonna be the guy that's selling his body on the line, selling out, make a block shot, take a puck to the teeth, for goodness sakes, and he's gonna be like that kind of fourth line guy that builds that defensive identity on the team. So I think it's just very pick and choose, and it's not something as easy as let's take every single goal scorer that leads every junior hockey team and put them on one team. I think there's more chemistry and more just taking the strengths of each player to put them into one team that has your scoring line, has your shutdown line, has your kind of enforcer line, but of course, you want your best players. So, I mean, there's definitely a few questionable things about who just like doesn't get invited to camp specifically. I'm excited to see what their actual roster is going to be. And I think once we see that roster, we'll maybe see a little bit more of an idea of where Canada's going with it and who they kind of want playing together. And not inviting DuPont either, even just have him in the camp. I agree to a certain extent. I mean, the kid's also 15. Like, he's going to have 4 or 5 more cracks to make this team. It's pretty impressive to have a guy like McKenna there. I mean, you can say, why is Misa not there if McKenna's there? Or why is Martone there, but McKenna's not? Even the T.J. Ginlas, I think Matthew Schaefer made the roster and stuff. But still, I mean, I can't say exactly where, but that's kind of where I stand in terms of at least the World Junior Development Camps. But I feel like we're kind of getting a little bit off topic. And of course, you asked a junior hockey question. Of course, I'm just going to keep talking about that. Thoughts on Uyghur not representing Canada? I don't know if the list that came out is specific. I don't know if, not specific. I don't know if it's confirmed yet, Fraser. With Uyghur not making the team. I know he was kind of going to be that 6th, 7th defenseman anyway. So I don't know if the actual team has been announced. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't necessarily say Uyghur not representing Canada for sure. But I do know going into it, he was kind of seen as that 6th, 7th defenseman. So of course, it's kind of it's not like a Cale Makar not getting invited type thing. Future Flame, Gavin McKenna. I only hope with Landon DuPont in tow. But either way, I feel like I'm kind of getting off topic and I should probably right the ship a little bit here. I guess this is kind of a good time to jump into our third period of the show today. Before I do, again, I just wanted to shout out the awesome work that the rest of the Game Over community is doing. As you all know, or if you haven't known, we have markets in all 7. We have shows in all 7 Canadian markets. So from Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, think I got everybody. If not, I'm sorry if I missed somebody. But all 7 markets in Canada are covered on the Game Over network. So if you do have maybe an affiliation to another team besides the Flames, I don't know why you would, but if you do, I respect it as long as it's Canadian and you're checking out the other Game Over shows there, because everybody, all other 6 shows are doing phenomenal work just like this, and obviously want to plug those guys and show some love. So if, again, you do have maybe biases or affiliations to other Canadian teams, we have shows just like this one, maybe even better, especially when I'm on, that are doing the same kind of stuff. So sending some love to the rest of the Game Over community and the shows, because they do fantastic work. Now, for the third period of tonight's show, I guess my other talking point I wanted to chat briefly about is I could go different ways. I was kind of thinking about which way to go here. I wanted to talk a little bit about Andrei Kuzmenko maybe being a healthy scratch at long last. But I feel like that is just going to be another conversation that will be had another day. So I kind of opted out to talk about that. I mean, I'm more than happy to talk about that. But I also wanted to talk about the decision to put Dan Vladar in tonight. I think that was a storyline that I maybe wanted to talk about a little bit more. I'll be honest in the sense that I was a little surprised to see him in net tonight, considering obviously can't say it was necessarily, last game against Pittsburgh wasn't all on his shoulders, but it was kind of the worst outing from him this season. 0.86 save percentage, 6 goals against. I think there was a few goals he wanted back. I think the Flames left him out to dry quite a bit in that game, so I'm not going to throw all of the not hate, but all of the blame on him for his performance. But I was surprised to see him in net. I thought it would go back to Wolf tonight, but I mean, he got the shutout. He got the job done today. Again, I don't think he was necessarily. He didn't win the game for the Flames. I think he made all the right saves that he needed to from the team. But when the Flames needed him to be there, he was there. And I think you got to give him props for that. Again, Columbus only recorded 16 shots in today's game as well. So it was a bit of a light workload, but he made him, he had to make the saves when he needed to, and he did a good job. Conrad had to give him one of the 2 Columbus games with the mask. Oh, that is a great call. I'm assuming by saying that Wolf started on the first game against Columbus. I can't remember. Again, my brain is mush. But if that's the case, I also agree in that sense. Conrad, that for a good cause with the helmet like that as well. Give him a start in one of the games. So that is on me. That one kind of flew over my head as well. So maybe there was a little bit more reasoning to that, and a good reasoning as well. And it worked out for the Flames in terms of the standings as well. That's actually Vladar's second shutout of the year. First one coming earlier in the month again, another 3-0 win over the New Jersey Devils, picking up a win over Jacob Markstrom, which is always nice. Wolf had been sick apparently from Matt C. I also didn't know that. So I guess I'm not necessarily a game breaker in that sense, knowing everything going on. So maybe I'll eat my words and we can pivot to maybe Kuzmenko, where I can hopefully talk a little bit better and sound a little bit like I know what I'm talking about. Matthew Crisanti bumped the trade value up. I agree. I mean, I think it tanked a little bit after that performance against Pittsburgh, but brought it back up a little bit. I will say I think he's probably the number 1 trade candidate at the deadline for me right now. I think just with the way Wolf's been playing, we've got Devin Cooley in the system that we can bring up. I would not be surprised to see him flipped. I have nothing against Darth Vladar. I think he's a great 1A, 1B option for a team. I don't think he's a starter caliber, but I mean, if he keeps stringing the wins together and playing like he did today, I'm all for sending him, and I think the value came up as well tonight, and hopefully to see it keep going. Wow, now I guess that nixed my Vladar topic. Thank you for proving me wrong. But I'm just joking. I appreciate the insight because I did not know either one of those facts, or I didn't think about them. So let's pivot and let's talk about Andrei Kuzmenko, because at long last we saw him healthy scratch tonight, and I'm not surprised in the slightest. He's got 1 goal through 25 games this season. He is tied with Dan Vladar in points in the month of November with 2 assists. I believe Kuzmenko played in 15 games in November and really has had a very lackluster start to the season. I don't know necessarily what's going on with him. He's definitely had a Huberdeau-esque decline when you kind of consider he put up, I believe it was like 39 goals in his first season with the Canucks, hit the 70 plus point mark with them as well in his kind of debut inaugural season in the NHL after moving from the KHL, and from going to 39 goals in his first season to on pace for less than 4 goals this season with the Flames. As I said, it is a Huberdeau-esque decline for Kuzmenko, and obviously not something that the Flames want. I feel like I was entering this season, I was on the fence whether I would want to see him stick around. I thought if he could kind of be that 30 goal scorer, 40 goal scorer, maybe if we're lucky, obviously like that's a guy that I would want to keep around. But that's clearly not the case. And at the same time, the Flames kind of, if there is an urge to potentially move him, as it's clearly not working, I'm all for it, but with 1 goal through 25 games and him known to be a sharp shooter and a guy that can put the puck in the net, I don't think his value is too high. Conrad again, Vladar and Kuzmenko for a second and a prospect. I mean, I would like to see a return like that. As everybody knows, I'm a natural born pessimist, so I am leery as to whether that might be a return. I think Vladar definitely has more value than Kuzmenko in this moment in time. Again, considering kind of the drop-off that he's had, a second in a prospect would be phenomenal, and I think that's exactly what the Flames would be looking for a guy like that. I think a guy like Vladar could, to the right team, the right buyer that's maybe desperate enough for, as I said, a 1A, 1B goalie, could probably put together a second. I probably am not really looking into that first-round territory for a guy like him, but I think they can sneak a second for him. And Kuzmenko for a prospect, I mean, I hope. I think if teams think that they can maybe start knocking the goals into him a bit here, I think it's worth. I hope you're right. I hope that's kind of the return, or even if not more. But again, the pessimist in me is a little hesitant to see a return like that come back. And at least for trades we've seen recently, at least with the Flames, I feel like the value or the expected value isn't necessarily what is the true return. But I wouldn't be surprised to see if the two of them get moved before or during the deadline. And I think that's just kind of logical moves for Conroy and the Flames to do. Matt C., I only heard about Wolf because they said it on the telecast. Well, I guess my ears just aren't working. Either way, I appreciate you sharing your input as well. I only joke about being corrected, but obviously I do appreciate the insight, as I would have just kept rambling about Vladar potentially the reason to go with him. So I appreciate you stopping me before I made myself look like too much of an idiot. So thank you very much. We'd have to eat most of Kuzi's salary to get any return on him this year. Yeah, I agree. There will be some salary. Good thing for the Flames is they're pretty darn close to that floor in terms of salary. So, I mean, if it means eating up some more, I mean, I feel like they might have to, considering how close they are to the cap floor. I don't know exactly where they're at, but I know they are a ways away down and have lots of room to work as well. So I feel like something like that is definitely doable. Now we're running at the 41-minute mark in tonight's stream, so I feel like this is a good time to kind of open it up to a lively conversation Q&A period. We've got a lot of people in the chat tonight sharing some great great little info tidbits, perspectives, and I'm happy to open this up and let's just kind of turn it into one big communal conversation. But before we do, very last ad read for the night is going to be coming at you right now. We have merch. I know I've said it before. Conrad's already picked up some merch for himself. But yes, the Game Over network has merch available, and there's no better way to support something you love than by rocking it as clothing. Game Over's apparel line has dropped with 3 unique designs. Whether you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro skater design, want to make a statement with our established design, which is currently on sale, or want to wear your love for goalies proudly with our live and die by the goalie design, or if you just need another cup of coffee to get through the winter, we've got you covered with coffee mugs as well. Designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg. Use the QR code that I'm going to pop up on the screen right now to take a look through our apparel store and help us rebuild local sports media in Canada while repping your community. I quickly just picked up a couple established tees. I will say I did go on a bit of a Christmas shopping spree on the site as well. Hopefully my family isn't listening to it, or else a few of their Christmas presents will be spoiled. But it's a great stocking stuffer idea. Grab a hoodie, grab some shirts, and just obviously support the Game Over network as well as local sports media as well. Yeah, of course, scan the QR code. If not, it's on the Game Over network website as well to pick up merch as well, and we obviously appreciate that as well. Now, Q&A. Conrad, right off the rip, question for OT. Backlund was 80% on the dot. If he gets closer to 60 on the season, are you happy with that? Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I feel like Backlund is one of the few guys on this team that is like your traditional centerman. I feel like the Flames have struggled in recent years to really get guys that are trained and have been a center for a while. So, obviously Conrad can attest to it. We've had streams. I remember this stream because we were both quite upset with it. I believe it was the Hurricanes game, and their face-off percentage was just abysmal, and it showed in possession rates and all that stuff. The Flames have not been a good face-off team, so if we get at least one of our guys closer to 60 on the dot, I would say so. I mean, obviously in a perfect world, even if you're 50-50, it's better than what it's been up to this point. So a guy that's in that 60 range, I'm happy for it. I mean, the more the merrier. So I don't want to set a roof or a ceiling on 60%, obviously more, but just the way the Flames have trended in terms of the faceoff dot, if we could get at least one of our guys up to 60%, I am all for it. I do know, I don't know where the rumors are now, but I know the Flames were also kind of in the hunt for a top 6, mid 6 center. Again, as I said, for the right price and right age and right just guy that fits the identity of the Flames, I'm open to it, barring kind of what the end value in return is going to be. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Backlund is probably the only guy that's really a true center on this team. Last amazing face-off center I remember was Stefan Yelly. I know who you're talking about, but I'm horrible with name pronunciation, so I probably botched that. But either way, yeah, I agree. Mid-6 right-handed C was the rumor. Yeah, so again, I don't necessarily want the Flames to go out and get a guy in his late 20s in that demographic or that range. That's what I don't love, and I don't love a prospect or a pick kind of going in the opposite direction. Yell, thank you, appreciate that. I can't do names very well, so it's so nice to have Conrad in the chat because he is just the best. Either way, yeah, I a mid-6 right-handed center. Again, I don't hate that if it's the right age. I don't know how true it is, but I've heard a name that floated around was a guy like Dylan Cousins in Buffalo. I don't know how true that was. In terms of age, he's kind of got that. Well, he's relatively young. And I think just with the direction the Flames are going, a guy like that would be a decent fit. in terms of, as I said, I don't want a like late 20-year-old that is going to be, like early 30s by the Flames are kind of ramping back. If they do the rebuild properly, if they kind of ramp back up into more of like a contender playoff status team, a younger guy would probably be closer to his prime when the Flames are kind of building back up. So I know Dylan Cousins was a guy was rumored. I don't know how true it is on whether the Flames are really, really hunting him down. Shane Pinto is the name I want. Yeah, that's a good one too in Ottawa. Like that's kind of the not demographic, but the age range that I'm looking for. And again, I think the biggest like concern is what like if I'm in Buffalo shoes and I'm moving out like I don't know if you'd call him a foundational piece, but a guy that is going to be your middle six guy for the foreseeable future that is still quite young. I don't know about you, but that just kind of screams like there's a lot of value attached to a guy like Cousins and Pinto. And I don't know if the return and what the Flames would be giving up is something I necessarily love. Again, I know there's trade. Like it's tough to find a top to middle six center that is like a bona fide center. And with that comes stuff with value. So I just hope like in return, they're kind of looking for a guy that's more of a current kind of NHL guy. I mean, we're talking about guys like Kuzmenko and Vladar. I mean, I don't think the Sabres will be too keen on taking a combo of those for a guy like Cousins, but like if there's a team looking for a guy that is maybe a bit more of a project in the sense like trying to get him back up to the 40 goal scorer he once was, plus a 1A 1B type goalie, and they're willing to give up a younger center, I'm all for it. I mean, do I have a name for you specifically? Probably not, but either way, like I want to know what the asking price for is a guy like that before I'm like, yes, absolutely, bring that guy in. Granted, like again, the Flames are in the midst of what you can call a rebuild. Of course, they're in a playoff spot, so you can't really call it a full-fledged rebuild as they're not really in a lottery pick right now, and they just picked up 2 more points tonight. But it feels like in like another option that is more long term instead of having to sell a good chunk of your assets for a guy that's NHL ready now is kind of put like trying to draft a guy up like that. I can't say right off the top of my head the Flames have anybody in the system in the minors in junior hockey that kind of fits that description. But with a lot of picks coming up in the next 2 drafts, like if the Flames really are in it for the long haul in terms of like, hey, let's be they're not necessarily a crappy team right now, but let's be a quote unquote crappy team, grab some pretty high picks and build up from there. I'm not opposed to kind of grabbing a guy in the draft that fits that description. And again, like, I mean, if we're drafting, like, let's aim for a top line center because those are even harder to come by. Either way, yeah, like I'm very hesitant as to what a return would be on those guys. Is Luke Misa a center? I believe he is. I'll like throw a quick elite prospects your way just to double check. But yeah, it says he's listed as a center. I mean, he's somebody who's had a pretty good start to his season in Brampton of the OHL. 32 points in 24 games isn't too shabby. So obviously, right off the bat, like that sounds like a pretty good fit. I mean, it's the thing with prospects is you never necessarily know how they're going to mature. And obviously with him being a 5th rounder, his kind of, there's a reason why he went in the 5th round and he got passed on 100 plus times. But I mean, we've seen a lot of guys get passed on that have turned out to pretty good players. So, I mean, that's a good guy that obviously the Flames targeted for a reason. And obviously, like for all we know, he could be the long-term solution. And again, I mean, I know there's some pretty good guys in that draft class as well, in the upcoming draft class too, that could fit a profile if the Flames don't necessarily want to pay top dollar for a top 6, mid 6 center that I'm pretty sure the demand might be pretty high for. As it always is. Sam Honzik was a minor. Sam Honzik was a center in the minors too. Well said. Yes, he. I do know he played a little bit of wing in Vancouver, but he was a center for a good chunk of it as well. I mean, I don't really I don't know how Hansik's season has been going right now in with the Wranglers. I do know the injury bug has bit him on more than one occasion, and some, like, with a kid being that 19-year-old age, and he's kind of already had a few pretty major injuries, is something that I'm scared of, and obviously maybe someday he can, later in the season, might get another start with the Flames as well. So, you know, it's an option too as well. As I said, if the Flames aren't necessarily looking to buy at the moment. I guess we can open it up for maybe a question or two more. We're running right around the 52-minute mark, so obviously we can wrap things up in a couple of minutes here. But as more of a recap, again, Flames pick up a 3-0 shutout win in what was a emotional night for the entire city of Calgary, city of Columbus, and the Gaudreau household. With them in attendance, it was obviously nice to see the boys in red pick up 2 points in what was a pretty impressive fashion as well too. So obviously my heart, as well as the rest of the Game Over community's heart, goes out to the Gaudreau family. Obviously we're thinking of Meredith, Noah, John Jr., Guy, Jane, Madeline, Maddie's wife as well, and the rest of the family. Heart goes out to them. Obviously there's it's a tough time in everybody's life, in their life too, and obviously the healing process is only just begun. But the Sea of Red and the Columbus fan base, as well as the entire hockey community, is supporting them through thick and thin as well. So one more time, kind of just shout out both the Blue Jackets and Flames organization for just all the beautiful tributes that they have done for the two brothers in the last 2 days. Within the last week, in the last 2 games. Very powerful stuff, very well done stuff, and really just a beautiful tribute to both John and Maddie. So obviously a tough night for everybody. And hockey is such a fantastic community, and there's obviously it's nice to be able to be supported by one another through tough times like this, and give support to the people who need it most as well. Oilers got shut out. Calgary's still the best team in Alberta. That too, Conrad as well. I think this is a good time to shut things down for tonight. The Flames are back in action later this week, I believe Thursday, when they take on the Blues back at home before they head off to another 2-game road trip starting with Dallas, I believe. Flames back in action on Thursday. Game Over is back following post-game. I believe it is Conrad and Anand on the call. But yeah, until then, wishing everybody the best. And if you like the show, if you like me, I mean, my feelings won't be hurt if you don't like me, but if you like the show, if you like everything they're doing, feel free to subscribe, like, share with a friend, share with your family, share on social media, share it any way, which way, wherever. Obviously any support we can get, the better. And wishing everybody the best, and we will see you back on Thursday evening for the Flames and Blue Jackets post-game show.